Testing, testing. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be concentrating on stress testing. Not stress testing for CIG, but stress testing for the capabilities of my PC playing Star Citizens in the next patch. It involves a lot. First thing it involves is how high I can push my PC using lossless scaling. Now, I can push frames up to 1,000 frames per second, okay, which as everybody thinks, well, if you've not got a monitor, there's no point in you pushing 1,000 frames per second if your PC monitor can only do 120. Well, it doesn't work like that. Okay, I can only explain what I see in front of my PC. Okay, yes, if your PC can only accept 120 frames per second, there's no point pushing 240 or 1,000 frames. That is true. But as you already well know, you've got frame generation. It puts frames in between the frames of the original frames. But let's just forget about lossless scaling for a minute. Okay? I'm going to use the NVIDIA. We all know that NVIDIA goes up to about 4 frames, and when they get things working, it's 6 frames. Well, in every frame, they've got the first frame and they've got the last frame. And in between that, they've got a frame in between. Now what that does, it copies the first frame which it's already got, okay, depending on how fast your PC is, and it takes the last frame which has already been remended and takes in between, and you've got AI. So because of that, you've got a fake frame in between, and so you might say, but it is actually a frame in a manner of speaking. So then you've actually got 3 frames instead of 2 frames, not 1 frame, it's 3 because it's 1 in between. Okay? Then you've got smoothing, okay, to make everything a lot smoother. Right, this also takes up one minute. This also takes up GPU power. Alright? Okay, so if your PC now, if your monitor can show 120 frames native, okay, which is true, there's no point you going 100, 240 frames. But if you drop your native to say 30, it's supposed to be 60 by rights, but let's just say 30, the PC power drops. Now because the PC power drops, okay, the wattage and whatever, these fake frames which uses less power introduces those, i.e. fake frames are not. It's frames that so you don't get the flickers. This also is the same when it comes to shimmering and the refresh rate. Okay, it's all in. So basically you've got 30 frames, okay, which is 4 times less than the 120 frames, and then you inject 4 frames in between that, okay, of less power native. That's less power on the graphics card. Now because of that, okay, you can now push 240 frames even for 180 frames, equivalent to your 120 frames native. But what you get is the smoothness. Okay, I'm going to try and do it on here, but I'm actually pushing a lot of frames at the moment, okay, so it's a bit difficult. I'm going to go to 240 today. That's half of 480. If it allows me to go that high. I'm doing 60 frames stress testing today. But anyway, So basically, so your original 120 frames is now being capped at native 30 frames, and times that by 4 with frame generation, that goes back to 120 frames, but it uses less power on the GPU. Okay, so that means you've got redundancy to do other things. If your graphics card is pushing 100%, there's no redundancy. You get frame loss, you get overheating, and you get stutters because you're actually pushing the PC above its capability. It's like having a car. You don't rev it and drive at 100 miles an hour. You drive it at half and you still get better fueling and so on because of the ways, unless you got gear ratios, the same sort of thing. That is frame generation. It's not fake frames. Okay, now how do I know this? It's because I've been using lossless scaling. Now, what is lossless scaling in the NVIDIA app? Well, I've got two 5090 Ti's, and I've also got I've got two 1080 Ti's, okay, which are used to using SLI, and I've got a 5090. Okay, now the way NVIDIA does it, this is what I believe. You can say what you like, but at the end of the day, it's what I see in front of me. If NVIDIA can sell new graphics card, remember it's all software driven. These fake frames, so they say, they can put it on the old graphics card. But if they put it on the old graphics card, you're not going to buy the new graphics card. I'm not going to go into all the caveats in what you're going to buy the new one. I did the same thing. Okay, my fake frames has not come. I keep saying fake frames. It's not fake frames. I'm trying to get it all sorted at the moment. I might have to turn it off and restart it. Okay, those are fake frames. Okay, now because people don't know that and they look at everybody else, they copy what everybody else says, and it's not true. Now, lossless scaling isn't part of NVIDIA. Okay, it's independent. So they've invented the same technique, but you can do with the frame generation or the fake frames, and you get the same effect. So why do you need to spend £3,000 on a 5090? You don't need to. Okay, but what has the 5090 got that a 1080 ain't got? Frame generation and all these other adoptions. That's the only reason at the end of the day. I've got a very high powerful PC. Okay, but let's get back to two 1080 Ti's. Two 1080 Ti is equivalent to a 3090 Ti. Why? It's got 32 lanes, not 16, because it's two graphics card. It's got 22 gigabytes of RAM, okay, not 11, and so on and so on. It doesn't run at 3000 megahertz, it runs at 6000 megahertz. But remember, SLI is dead. But if you think about it, you can have one graphics card to do the display and the other graphics card to do the rendering. You have automatically got 4K running on a 1080 Ti fluently. This I've done, this is what I've proven. Now if you pair that up with the latest motherboard of 5th gen, the frames you get is just unbelievable at the end of the day. Now I do have a Z, but anyway, that's what I see. Now let's talk about smoothness. Now I am streaming at the moment, okay? Now obviously because I'm streaming, I'm still setting up my PC, right? I'm using lossless scaling, you can tell, because if you look at the top, I'm showing 240 frames. Then the 1% low is 240 on average. Yes, it does dip below to say 120. But what you don't seem to understand, it's smoother. But you just said just now, if your monitor can only show 120 frames, you can't see 140 frames. That is true. You can't. But like I says, you can't see it on the stream. But when I move from side to side, that is butter smooth. Okay, I've actually adjusted it now to 60 on the 1% lows. Okay, or it's capped at 60 frames per second. Okay, on the afterburner. But when you move left and right, it's smooth. But remember, the frames have already been created at the end of the day, so all it does is fills in the blank and gets up. So you've got smoother frames. What that means is less power on your graphics card, less memory on the graphics card, and so on. So that is frame generation. It's not fake frames. The frames have already been created. It's not generated from out of thin air. Okay, but what you've got is the smoothness. So at the end of the day, if your PC is only capable of doing 30 frames, you drop it down to 15. And because you dropped it down to 15, right, you can get 60 frames, you can get 120 frames, equivalent, as long as you don't go over the percentage watch. I know it's confusing, but I've only been able to learn this because I've been using lossless scaling in conjunction with the NVIDIA app at the end of the day. And then you got your whatever your PC is running, memory, how fast your RAM is, all these like paging file. Like I said, all these things I've fine-tuned my PC so it works. But when you're playing Star Citizens, like I said, if you look at my PC, okay, it's in HDR. That's another record. Everything's in max ultra, as you can see, okay, and I'm running in 8K at the same time, performance, blah blah blah, and all. And one more other thing is, I'm using DLAA because I'm all about quality also. But when I'm streaming, okay, you will be seeing roughly 60 frames per second because that is what my native is, because I've not worked out how to alter properly the OBS so it can show the same 240 frames which you see on here at the moment. So you will still get the stutters. What I'm getting is the butter smooth. But I'm just going to check something at the moment, okay, because I can't show the afterburner because the overlay doesn't work at the moment. So I've got to, because I've got most of the information in my head. My graphics card at the moment, believe it or not, it looks like it's running at 100% at 60 Celsius. No, it's coming down now. I've got 30 seconds because I've just loaded in and I'm also using 43 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, now my PC needs to be cleaned, so I'm going to clean the RAM at the end of the day, because if you look in the here in the graphics, it says I'm using 14 gigs of RAM, but when I go into my task manager, I'm using 43 gigs of RAM. That's a lot, so I'm going to have problems. So I have to quickly trim or get rid of the excess using quick CPU. That's why it's not working. It's not being loaded in. 1 minute, I got to load it in. I hope it lets me load it in. I didn't trim the PC before. I didn't tune it for Star Citizens before I loaded it in, you see. So basically it's all about redundancies at the end of the day. If you've not got redundancy, you can't push over so much because it needs to swap and change. SSDs, RAID on my PC is all the same thing. Remember, I am playing Star Citizen. Just let me trim my RAM. It's now coming down to 16 gigabytes of RAM. I'm now using 20 gigabytes of RAM now, okay, and my SSD is now cut down I've got very fast SSD. Well, we won't go into that. But my graphics at the moment is 80% peaking, okay, at 55 Celsius, okay. I've not even loaded it up on my other monitor just yet. Just give me a second. Well, at the moment, like I says, I'm just seeing because it's a. Oh, that's not very nice at all. That is because I'm pushing too much. I am at nearly 100% on my graphics card. Yes, I've got to turn something down somewhere. I will turn it down on my game. There's so many ways to reduce it. I mean, 8K at the moment, I'm going to go to 6K. 6K is what I'm really training my PC for, because that is what the maximum VR will run at when I get it with redundancy. This is what I mean by stress testing. The quality won't be as high, but I'm hoping I don't get any frame drops. Excuse me, my bad manners. I'm still producing 240. And my native is not 30 now, my native is 60. In the past I've been playing it native 30. When it came through on my streaming, the native was 30, so you got the stutters, okay? Now the stutters is not as bad, so that means I can tell I've got redundancy. No redundancy. Okay. I need to run 2 GPUs on this. I am now going to cut down my frames to a 1:1. That means it will be going at 120 frames per second, but it should be going at 90 because my VR will be running at 90. That's what I mean by stress testing and find out the balance. It's no point me waiting and doing all this on the day of the revival of my equipment, because to tune these PCs, okay, you need to know what you're doing before you've done it, because it does take time to do it. So I'm going to go to 120 native all round. So I'm actually going into lossless scaling now and tune it right down per 1:1 frame ratio of 120. It won't be as smooth because it's 1:1, because there's no frames being injected. You might see the shimmering because it's actually working in the background. Right, I'm now at 120 native. I can see shimmering. And this is what I mean at the end of the day. Okay, it's all about smoothing. You might not be able to see it, but I can see it at the end of the day, and that is how I understand about frame generation and injecting frames. Now the reasons why I'm still doing at 60 is because on the stream, if I reduce it down to 30, it's just OBS is like it's showing on 30, but to me, I seriously don't like it. It's cut down the frames. I'm now running at 70%, so I've got the redundancy. My temperature's a bit cooled down. But at the end of the day, like I said, I really can't. I see I'm using a 75-inch monitor at the end of it, so I know it don't work. If I wasn't streaming, then it wouldn't matter. But because I'm streaming, I'm showing you guys at the end of the day. So what you see is not what I see. You see better, but the quality is not the same. The shimmering is not as bad, but it's butter smooth on your stream. Okay? That's because at the end of the day, I should be using 2 graphics cards. Yes, I have 2 graphics cards on this PC. I have my 5090. Okay? And I also have the iGPU. Now if I've got the iGPU, I can play my game on my 5090, and when I'm streaming, I can display it on my iGPU because it's doing no rendering. But I keep forgetting to do that, and I have to make that important. But I'm going to turn down the frames at the moment because seriously, I really don't like the shimmering. And I've not got down to refresh rates at the moment, okay? So I'm now going to cap my frame rates from 60 to 30. So you will see the stutters slightly, but I won't see it because my frame rates will stay at 120. But I will go back to 240. So in the NVIDIA, in the Afterburner, that's Reba Tuner, I'm now going to cap it at 30. I cannot show this because Star Citizens doesn't work at the moment with the overlays. Okay, I have now capped the frame rates. It will settle itself, just give it a couple of seconds. I'm still showing 120, okay, because I understand how Afterburner. Now the shimmering has now gone. No, it's still there, okay, but there's no stress on the processor because I can tell. All right, now if I want, I can now turn up my frame generation to 4 times that, and it will give the same effect as if I was doing it at 60k native, because remember I've turned it down by half, so that times up by double, because remember the original was 120. I can now do 480, but it will give me 100% on my GPU, and then I can go down to 3 times its frame gen or twice its frame gen. It's not fake frames, because obviously it's taking the first frame, looking at the last frame, and the first frame's being rendered, and it's just filling in the blanks of the last frame, and then you got smoothing at the end of the day, so you've not got the jagged line. So it's 480, 4 times that. And you see that there now because it's rendering in. Let's see what the graph. See, it can render more. So now I know I can do that. I am now going to turn up the cap on my graphics card, but this is on my NVIDIA. It's set to 40 cap. That's native. I'm going to go to 40. Okay, because I'm trying to get rid of the shimmering. And when I start fine tune that, then I'm going to talk about the refresh rate and why that is so important. Right, now that I've up now I've done the 1% lows at 40, I can't go at 480. I'm going to go back to 120 and then 360, 240. That's injecting one frame for every frame. $360. You see, I've got redundancies here. I know you guys can't see what I can see, but if you've got a good head for figures and you've been paying attention, it will make sense. It's called balancing now. Now that's 2 frames injected to every frame, but the 1% low is about 180. That's still above 120, so there should not be any shimmering. Oh, there is shimmering. And the 1% low is 320 of its highest peak, but it's averaging roughly, call it 300. That's still pretty good. So that means my graphics card is running at 80%. As predicted. 80% as predicted. And the CPU isn't even being touched because the CPU is running at 40%. I'm only using 20 gigs of RAM. I won't go into the SSD because my SSD is not even being touched. And I am in 6K, if I remember correctly. Yes, because this is being tuned for my VR when it comes in. But when my VR comes in, it won't be just one frame, one monitor I'll be using like what I'm using now. I'll be using 3 monitors. I know it says it's copying one, but still there has to be processing done somewhere in the background. This is why my PC's got so much redundancy. Okay. Now I am now injecting 2 frames. Wait, it's at 40 frames. Is it at 40? Let me have a check. My native now is 40 frames. Okay, now if my native has a 40 frames, that's the graphics card is what it's producing. And what you know, you call it fake frames in between, but it's not. It's frames generated, because fake frames means frames come from nowhere. What it's doing, it copies the first frame, okay, and then when it copies the first frame, it looks at the last frame, and then it, because the frames are already there, and it puts in the differences at the end of the day. This uses less graphics power at the end of the day, less processing power, giving you more redundancy. And because of that, you've got overheads. And if you want, you can put in more frames in there, and guess what? My 1% low is 320 frames per second. But you're going to say, well, look, your monitor can only do 120. No. That's what you see, okay? But what you don't see is the frames in between, because it's so smooth. Now let's talk about refresh rates. Now I'm going to try and explain this the best way I can, okay? Between a VR and a TV monitor. micro OLED. I'm not a tech wizard, I'm still learning the technology, but I've got ways of understanding certain things because I've got, anyway, I won't go into that. Just believe for a minute I'm a professor and I know what the hell I'm talking about, okay? But I won't go into details why, alright? Because I can't read or write and I've not got no diplomacy in physics or, anyway, where was I? Right, we was talking about refresh rates. Okay, a TV monitor, I've got the Samsung 65 inch. The refresh rate on that is 0.1. Okay, and it's not a micro LED, it's just a normal, simple, it's not, my monitor is sophisticated, it cost me $4 I bought a couple of years ago, top of the art. Okay, you've got the monitors now with micro OLED, but I'm going to look at it as a VR. The refresh rates on the VR is 0.001. Okay, and I repeat again, the refresh rate on a TV monitor is 0.1. I repeat again, on a micro OLED monitor, I said micro, listen to the word micro, is 0.001. That makes the refresh rate on a micro LED, so it's 100 times faster. So it's refreshing 100 times quicker than a normal monitor. Okay, so if it's refreshing when you're doing all this, okay, you don't see no ghosting because it's so quick to the naked eye. It's like it's producing the frames. Yes, at the end of the day, if the refresh rate is 40 frames blah blah, you won't see it. It's called fine tuning and balancing. How do I know this? Well, like I said, at the end of the day, I don't know this, but I've already dialed in the numbers already, okay, through past experience. So when I get my new headset, I can just pull it straight in and I will see automatically, and I'll say boom, wow. But because you don't know that, you're going to be dialing in these numbers when you've got the headset, and 3 months later down the line, everything's old. I do things beforehand. Why? Because when I buy something, I want to know what I'm buying and why I'm buying it. So now you understand about refresh rate, which is not advertised at the end of the day. What is advertised is milliseconds, frames per second, and desync and all that. But the refresh rate is the most important because it's like strobing on and off, on and off, on and off. But if the light is slow, you get smurs, okay, you get shimmering, okay. And remember, this monitor that I'm using at the moment is 0.1 because I'm not using micro OLED. But when I get my TV, my VR, it's 0.001. That's 100 times faster than my TV. But oh look, 1 minute, my TV can go up to 120 hertz, but the VR can go to 90. That is true. So then what you do, there's no point you pushing your VR to 120 hertz if it can't do it, so you turn down the TV to 90 hertz, and that's where you get the similarity. Does it mean that the VR cannot do 120? Yes, it can. Remember, everything I'm talking about at the moment, I'm talking about the Samsung Galaxy XR. I'm not talking about the Pimax. Let's get it right. I'm not saying Pimax is shit. I'm not saying that Pimax is better. I'm not saying that the Samsung Galaxy is shit. I'm not saying it is better. But what I am saying, that the Samsung Galaxy XR has got the features that Star Citizens need to run for the future. Okay? The Pimax is old tech. That's nothing bad because it runs, it's been tested and it's been proven. Because when they got it, you spent months testing all of this. The Samsung Galaxy XR hasn't been tested. You see where I'm coming from? So obviously, you're not going to give something out and it doesn't work and then everybody gets upset. But it's people like us that do these early testing, like Star Citizens, okay? And that is what it's all about. But like I said, because you're watching it on stream, you cannot see what I can see. But take my word for it, if I say I am running at 360 frames per second, look, it's not fluctuating. It says my graphics card's not being pushed, and the 1% low is 150. Okay, but I can go down to 120 or 90. I will get shimmering. But if I want to stop that, I've got to wait until I get my Samsung Galaxy XR, because the refresh rate on that is higher at the end of the day. Now remember, I'm not tuning it for my PC about 8K, which it can do. I'm not tuning it for 120 Hz, what it can do. I'm not tuning it for in milliseconds of 15 milliseconds, because at the end of the day, that was tested and proven 2 years ago. At the end of the day, when you guys are looking at frames per second, I was looking at milliseconds at the end of it, because the lower the milliseconds is the true performance of the PC. Right, okay, now let's bring the Pimax into equation. That is direct connection, and it can go right down to, I can't remember numbers, so I'm going to make up numbers. It can go down to 6 milliseconds. Whoa, when you hear 6 milliseconds, you're hearing 480 frames per second. And you see where I'm coming from? But it's not that, it's down to milliseconds, because you get spikes, okay? And when these spikes come up, the milliseconds will jump right up. But if you can't produce more frames, whatever, because your frame says that, it still shows spikes. Spikes is latency. So I go by the milliseconds at the end of the day, and then milliseconds is the 1% load. My 1% loads at the moment is 120 on average. That's the lowest. So then I can work out its milliseconds, and its milliseconds roughly is about 15-30 milliseconds. But let's now get back to the Samsung Galaxy XR. It's Wi-Fi. So from when you hear Wi-Fi, you're going to class it to the MetaQuest of 60 to 80 milliseconds. Can you see where I'm coming from? Alright, which is true. So when you see that, you get decent, you get lagged, and you're not going to get the smoothness like what I see here. Now Wi-Fi 7 is born. Wi-Fi 7 cuts down the latency, okay, and seriously, it is a lot faster than Wi-Fi 6. Way faster. But the difference between the Samsung Galaxy XR, it's not got alt mode. Alright, so you cannot switch it in and out. But as you know, the Pico coming out has got it, but that's coming out at Christmas. Alright, but I don't want to get into that technology yet, because I'm still doing that tech now. No, I'm not going to buy it. It's not as good as Samsung Galaxy X. I've already run the numbers, and I can tell you the reasons why. It's a MetaQuest copyright. Copy. It's a mic. It's the PK is a copycat of the MetaQuest, and now they want to copy the Apple Vision, just like the Samsung Galaxy is a copy of them. Anyway, you can see where I'm coming from. So we won't get into that at the end of the day. But let me get back to where I was. You see, I've forgotten now. We was talking about Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi 7 is fast, okay, but if I had my AI, it would explain it in a way you can understand it. I am speaking from my brain, okay, everything's stored in my brain, so sometimes the word doesn't come out properly, or it comes out back to front. Okay, Wi-Fi 7, it produces latency. okay, because obviously Wi-Fi has to travel through the air, and it's like, you know, the score there. But Wi-Fi 7 is pretty fast at the end of the day. But at the moment, not very many PCs do Wi-Fi 7, so you're using a router. Some routers do Wi-Fi 7. That's brilliant, okay? But there is still latency because the information has to go through the router to the PC and from the PC to the VR. So then you've got delay down into milliseconds. My motherboard is Wi-Fi 7. Alright? So now I've cut out the router. So now that's cut down the milliseconds. So what used to be 80 milliseconds is now cut down by 20 milliseconds. Remember, the lowest I can get my Samsung Galaxy XR is 27 milliseconds, okay, compared to the MetaQuest of 60 to 80 milliseconds. So the keynote is getting it down to 25 milliseconds on the Samsung Galaxy XR, which is acceptable for Star citizens, okay, because remember the Pimax or native TV can go down to 6 milliseconds. You know the score there. Right, now my motherboard is unique, okay, it's the only motherboard that's got all these features in there. I've gone through every motherboard out there. Well, you're going to say, well, the ASOS is the best and the ASOS is, well, like I says, alright, then everyone's going to turn around and say, oh, I'm speaking fast because I'm taking the piss now. People say, well, AMD's better, AMD can do. And I'm saying, shut the fuck up. And people say, well, look, why pair a 5090 to the Intel graphics card? Well, like I says, if you understand PC tech, okay, and you got the facilities, you can run these things and it makes sense. Alright? But like I says, it means we're breaking everything down, okay, and explaining everything. It is too much. But we'll go back to Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 7 and my motherboard is Wi-Fi 7, so I don't need a router. That's cutting down the latency, okay, and it's fast. Also, people will turn around and say, well, the Wi-Fi 7 on the motherboard, it breaks. Yes, because it's got so many things in the Windows, so you got so many channels. You can turn all of that off, so you don't get no spike. So it's constant. You see where I'm coming from? Then you've got on the Samsung Galaxy XR, which is discrepancy, it's supposed to be PC VR because it uses USB 2. It can go through that, cutting down the heat. Yeah, so if it can cut down the heat, then your goggles VR is not as hot. It can push 120 frames per second. Yes, it's been all updated, so it's not native or 90 going through the battery where you've got to play in 60. It can do 120. All these things is coming in. This cuts down at the end of the day. So remember, it's cutting down. It's not cut down by much, but remember the key factor was pushing the Samsung Galaxy XR to 25 milliseconds. Alright, now like I said, there's so much. Then you've got to have the right cable, okay, then you've got to have the right resolution at the same time, because that's also something else. Then you've got photorealistic rendering, all of that at the end of the day. But remember, let's talk about photorealistic rendering. Photorealistic rendering is where I'm looking, is where it's zooming crystal clear. But me being a streamer, it would mess up your brain, because where I'm looking is crystal clear and you're looking over somewhere here, it's all blurry. It's not pleasing to the streamer, I mean people watching it. So I have to have my monitor on open so it shows all crystal clearness at the same time. But in my VR, it's doing photorealistic rendering. It gets confusing, but people don't explain that at the end of the day. But they want to see you wearing the Samsung Galaxy XR. I'm a content creator and streamer. Well, you want to see the Samsung Galaxy XR, but you want to see the quality of what it can do. The goggles at the end of the day is for you as a personal use. Okay, let's go backwards in technology. You've got a 65-inch monitor TV, cost £2,000. You got your missus, you got you, and you got your children and your grandchildren all sat down like you're in a cinema watching one big massive screen of £2,000. That's brilliant. But guess what? This is the silly bit. Well, I want to watch it in VR because this is in VR. You got to buy yourself a VR for £2,000. You got to buy your missus a VR for £2,000. You got to buy your kids VR for £2,000, and then you got to buy your grandkids VR for £2,000. The bloody goggles don't fit. You see, and how much have you spent? You spent nearly £40,000 on that VR so everybody can get it, and that's why we have the native TV like in a cinema. Okay, but let's get back to milliseconds. Remember, I want to get my milliseconds down to 25. So now, as you can see, at the end of the day, to get it down to native 25 milliseconds, we can't get down to 9 because it's still got cable, because remember, the Samsung Galaxy XR is not native, it's not direct, it still has to go through Wi-Fi because that's the way it's built. It can go down to 25 milliseconds. Alright, now as you can see, that's how low it goes. So where is the misconception? Alright, I'm going to bring mirroring. My PC's past, what you see is mirroring. When you're playing Star Citizens, okay, think about it. Where is your mouse? Your mouse is connected to your PC. You're playing Star Citizens. Remember, I'm focusing this on Star Citizens. I'm not focusing this on VR chat or anything like that, or Android Auto, or what goes through the internet. We're talking about PC VR playing Star Citizens. I'm now bringing mirroring in, okay? Now, Star Citizens is done on your PC and it's mirrored onto your 65-inch TV. Yeah, it's direct. Yeah, it's Wi-Fi. Yes, whatever. It's still mirrored because obviously it's a projection, okay? Of whatever means you are using its projection, alright? But as long as the input is directly input to your TV, like your joystick, your mouse and your keyboard, alright, it's still a one-to-one because it's a direct input, because it's traveling the shortest way possible. Now on the TV it's mirroring, yes, so it's mirroring. Yes, you got a 1 second delay or a 2 second delay depending on the resolution of your monitor. It's still mirroring, but your brain compensates, okay? And this is a problem that these VR techs have got at the moment. Well, they're using the controller, cut fiber controllers, you know, the control you get with the VR. It's a 3 second because that's directly encoded to the VR headset. Okay, it's a mouse. Alright, so because it's a mouse, you will get the delay because it's going through the Wi-Fi settings of your VR. But when you think about it, your mouse, your proper mouse, is connected directly to your PC. That's where you get DPIs of 15,000 and all that kind of bullshit. And your keyboard is also the same because it's directly connected to your mouse. PC. Well, the monitor and the TV is the same, okay? It's how, because we're using Wi-Fi going through the VR, there's a delay, but your brain is compensated at the end of the day. So if it's, how much is, but 15 milliseconds, it's only a quarter of a second behind. Alright, and your brain will compensate. But if your mouse is going through the VR or your keyboard, because it can do VR, you've now got latency where it's delayed. But if it's directly connected to your PC, it's still a one-to-one at the end of the day. Now this is what people don't understand, okay? But I'm trying to break it down as much as I can, okay? And in a few months from now, people will be experimenting this and they will see and understand what it's all about. But it needs somebody to explain it in such a way that you can see it. Okay, I'm in 8K. Why is there no stuttering on my PC like everybody else's? And don't forget, Star Citizens can play in 8K. You know, if you're playing in 8K, you're getting all stutterings, you're getting all this and all the shimmer and all that kind of bullshit, which is true. But I am using RAID. Alright? I'm using, okay, I can tell you what you're using. Alright? Straightforward bullshit. I know everybody's PC, but the standard body's PC, at the end of the day, they're using SSD. Using 4 lanes. Okay? And it's a 960 Pro in Gen 4. I can say Gen 3, but let's just be sweet. Gen 4. And it's using 6000 mega transfer. That is okay for every piece of game, but it's not okay for Star Citizen when you're playing 8K. Okay? And you want to get 120 frames per second, 240 frames, because the data has to be pulled from the SSD. So at 6000 mega transfer, right, putting all that data and running Star Citizens and everything in the background, you're gonna get stutters and all the shimmering and all that kind of shit, because the SSD can't do it in 4 lanes. Okay. Then you've got hardware RAID, you've got software RAID. Software RAID does not work. Alright? It's got to be hardware RAID. Right, I'm going to break this down very slowly now. I've got 3 SSDs in my PC, using 4 lanes apiece. Alright, so I'm not using 4 lanes now, I'm using 12 lanes. Now as you can see, if one lane gets clogged, it moves over to the next lane, as you can see. Alright, so now as you can see, it's cut down the latency, it's cut down the shimmering, it's cut down this lot. Now that's called bandwidth now. Okay, right, like I said, you guys are now using the Samsung 990 Pro showing roughly peak 6000 mega transfer. I've got the 9, and that's 4 lanes. I've got the 9100 Pro running in Gen 5. Right, that's 14,000 mega transfers. That's twice the speed of the 990 Pro. Alright? It doesn't stop there. I've got 3 of them in hardware RAID. Now 3 times 14,000 mega transfer. I'm not going to give you exact figures, right? When you work out that times by 3, that's 45,000 mega transfer. That's almost on a 1-to-1, okay? And that's 45 mega transfer compared to 7,000 mega transfer. So that's why you've not got no shimmering, you got no breakups. That is what you call lanes. And remember, I am not running in 4 lanes because I've got 3 SSD in hardware. I'm running 8 lanes. Can you see where I'm coming from now? Okay, so I'm able to download the frames as quick as you can blink an eyelid. This is what Star Citizens need, because we're playing 8K, and if Star Citizens need these frames when you're playing games, you don't want the stuttering, so you won't get this. My friends, right? They get frames, and they say, oh, I'm only getting 12 frames. I saw it yesterday. If you watch yesterday's stream, they was all complaining. They was only getting it gone down to 1 frame and 2 frames because the bandwidth was not enough, because there was something wrong with the server, and there was lag, there was latency, and it went down to 3 lanes. But me, I was still pushing 240 frames because it was instant. It wasn't waiting. That is where the SSDs need to be explained by the professors. Then you're going to turn around and say, well, I can't afford free 9,100. No, you don't need free. You don't need to spend £240 on the latest tech that I've got, because yes, mine was all the latest tech of the Samsung 9100 Pro. Cost me £240 each of 2 gigabytes, 2 terabytes. That's 6 terabytes. Because remember, I built my PC for something special, okay, and that's why I got. But you could get free cheap SSDs, okay, of 1 terabyte each, okay, for say 30 quid. Now 1 terabyte running in RAID 0, you've got 12 lanes there automatic. It's 4 lanes apiece on the SSD. You got the super high bandwidth, and guess what? You've not got one terabyte because you're running in RAID 0. You got 3 terabytes for 90 quid. Can you see where I'm coming from? So you don't need the 990 Pro. So you got, and then you and because it's we'll just keep it at say 7,000 mega transfer. You times that by 3, you got 21 mega transfer in RAID 0 running at Gen 4. Is it enough to run Star Citizens? It's a heck of a lot better than 3 terabytes mega transfers per second. How much did it cost you? It didn't cost you an arm and a leg, and you got 3 times the speed. Okay, well, what does that mean? Do you remember the old SSDs, SATA, when they first came out, that could only do, you know how slow they were, and people said get the SSDs. It's the same thing. But people are selling these massive SSDs for big prices. They don't say, well, you can get an, just go Google it, find 3 of the cheapest SSDs, okay, at 1 terabyte, and I bet you don't pay more than 60 bloody quid, 100 quid, okay, and with that you got 3 terabytes of storage, you know what I mean, cheaper than the 990 Pro, and you got 12 lanes. You can now play Star Citizen because you got a super high with band speed, okay. Remember, we're talking Star Citizens. We're not talking Beat Saber or whatnot. Remember, Star Citizens will push your PC to the limits, okay? That's explaining that. But let's get back to the latency, okay, of VR. Remember, the key factor is 25 milliseconds. Now, 25 milliseconds is good because remember, that is the lowest that the VR can go to. So there's no point you trying to push your PC to 6 milliseconds because it can't go no lower than 25 milliseconds. So the lowest is 25 milliseconds on your VR. So you tune your PC and all your aspects to 25 milliseconds. What is the lowest your PC runs at? Everything must be tuned to that. I'll give you another example. If you got this program that's running at this high bandwidth, you got this program that's running at this bandwidth, we'll use RAM. That's a good example. If you, in the olden days, if you had RAM that run at 1000 mega transfer, and you had the other RAM that was running at 6000 mega transfer, the 6000 mega transfer wouldn't run at 6000 mega transfer. It would run to its lowest common denominator of 1000 mega transfers. Alright, that makes sense. So that means you're leaving performance on the table. You understand that. But if you remember the early adopters of PC tech, this is how far I go back, you would not put your fastest memory in front and put your slowest memory behind, because the fastest memory would burn out your slowest memory. Yes, all you old PC techs that's about my age, you will know exactly where I'm coming from. These youngsters don't know this. So what we used to do, we used to put the slowest RAM in front and the fastest RAM in behind. So that means the slowest RAM would run at its maximum of 1000 mega transfer, and the fastest RAM that was running at 5000 mega transfer would only run at 1000 mega transfers. So you wouldn't burn out your RAM. And it's still the same technology today, because I've seen these people do this on their AMD. They switch around the RAM. What they're doing, they're moving the slowest forward and the fastest backwards, so it stays at one speed of its lowest common denominator. It's called leaving performance on the table. And that's why people say when you're doing things, you should match them. It's true if you understand the technology. But if you've got an old PC, okay, and you go and buy some new RAM, okay, why are you buying this new RAM? Because you can't get the old RAM anymore at the end of the day, so you are forced to buy this new RAM to put in there, but it will run at the old speed. But if you've got the latest PC, you do not buy old spec and put it in the new PC, because it's leaving performance on the table. You don't do it. It's the other way around. When you're building a new PC, you put the highest in there and you build it up. But when you're upgrading, if your PC's old, you can buy new stuff knowing it will run to the lowest of what your PC is capable of. But they don't explain that. They say to you, buy the best, and if you can't afford it, put the lowest. That is wasting money. You work it out, and yes, if your PC runs this, for instance, I'll give you an example. When I bought my PC a year ago, yes, it's got all the latest tech in there, okay. I bought the latest processor, I bought the latest RAM, I bought the latest, what they call it, I didn't have a graphics card. Serious to God, I didn't have a graphics card, because the graphics card hadn't come out then. That was a 5090. But luckily my motherboard had an iGPU in there, and I could still play Star Citizens on the iGPU, because the Intel had its iGPU built into it, and the motherboard of the Galaxy, oh my word, my motherboard, it will come back to me in a minute. The Gigabyte AI Tops had a display port in there, so I just plugged my motherboard into display port. I was playing Star Citizens in 4K, literally, and I had no graphics card. I was laughing. I couldn't believe it. That's because the 5090 hadn't been released yet. So guess what? I took out my 1080 Ti and plugged it in to my Gigabyte motherboard. Okay, it wasn't fast enough, but the speed I got out of that, I said, but I couldn't get this out of my other, what they call it. I nearly did not buy my 5090. But why was I buying the 5090? Because I wanted to know about this ray tracing. Okay, so at the end of the day, so my 5090 was running at maximum speed of, I know I'm going to be a bit silly and say it's running the 59, which is not true at the end of the day, because it's still third gen at the end of Gen 4 at the end of the day, where the 5090, no, the 5090 is Gen 5. Sorry, the 4090 is Gen 4 and Gen 3. My 1080 Ti was Gen 3. You know where I'm coming from. But the speed was like it was a 5090 at the end of the day. So I said to myself, I'm not going to spend £3,000 on a 5090. I don't bloody well need it. But then I remembered I wanted to know about this frame gen. I wanted to know about this ray tracing. You see what I mean? All them things, and that's why I bought it. You didn't need it at the end of the day. Blah blah blah. It gets complicated, but what I'm saying, if you're going to start to build a new PC, do not put old tech in your PC. Make sure when you pick something, it's compatible with what you are running it with. Don't listen to people out there. You have to do your own test, because remember, us tech content creators, I'm not on commission. Let's start from there. I built my PC from my personal experience, okay, on what I wanted it for, okay. So you can do the same. You can use GTP chat, but you've got to be careful. It will give you the information you need based on the 100. It's hard. Basically, if you're going to build a PC today, alright, look for the best. And anything that runs on the lowest specs, don't put it in there. But if you've got an old PC, you can upgrade. I.e., I've got a 10-year-old laptop here, alright. It can run Star Citizens, and it's got a smaller graphics card that's worse than a 1080 Ti. But what it had in there was a SATA drive in there. I took it out and put the Samsung Galaxy, put the Samsung 990 Pro in there. It was like a whippet. You see where I'm coming from? But it could only run one SSD. But because it was so fast, the graphics card wasn't held back. But it's old. It gets complicated at the end of the day. If you're building a new PC, make sure you can't afford it. Get one that's got an iGPU in there and a display port. And when you can afford it, you can put it in there and it will work. Remember, I'm not talking about Crysis. I'm talking about Star Citizens. Star Citizens is a supercharger to Crysis. You can run 50 Crysis on this PC, but you can't run 50 Star Citizens on this PC. Just give me a minute, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So, as you can see, why, remember, how you see, it's just so much to talk about. But one thing I want to explain to you guys, normally, I usually have the AI to explain all of this, but I've been told by my friends, they're sick and tired of hearing the same thing all the time. Yes, because I'm still learning how to use AI. But when I'm using AI, okay, it's doing the talking and I can play the game at the same time. But I'm human just like you. If I'm going to be talking about AI tech, all you're seeing is just that, and you hear me rambling in the background. So yes, the guy who's interested in AI tech will watch because they understand that they want to learn about the AI tech. But the guys who want to watch the game, all they're looking at is a blank screen. You see where I'm coming from? And that's difficult at the end of the day. But this is about tuning today at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Now, I want to move on to another topic. Okay? Remember, it's about my PC build and why. Let's talk about RAM. You've heard all the content creators and streamers saying, do you need more RAM? Do you need fast RAM? Yes, you do. in every aspect. Why? Because it creates redundancy. Okay, you need the overhead. Because you're just running one game, okay, it doesn't need all that RAM, it don't need all that speed. But if you're running other things in the background, it's going to need those resources. Okay, my RAM at the end of the day is running at 9,200 mega transfer in Gear 4. Alright? It is slower than Gear 2 running at 8,800 mega transfer. Okay? I'm going to give you quick mathematics. Gear 4, you divide it by 4. Gear 2, you divide it by 2. And Gear 1, you divide it by 1. AMD, and most of them, is running in Gear 1. Okay? Gen 4. We're looking at AMD now. I know they've gone up, but I want to use them as an example. Okay? Gear 1, at the end of the day, the RAM is Gen 4. That's roughly an average of 4,000 mega transfer. Alright? You understand that? That's Gear 1. That's on a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay? There's a bit more to it than that. Gear 2, okay, if you was running that same RAM in Gear 2, that's 2,000 mega transfer. That's half the speed. But because it's in Gear 4, let me work this out. Gear 4, so Gear 2, it gets complicated. Because it's running in Gear 2, okay, of Gen 5, alright, you can get Gear 2. And the highest peak we're going to keep it at 4,000. That RAM then becomes at 4,000, it's then running at 2,000 mega transfer. But because you've got the bandwidth and the overhead, it can be overclocked. So you can run it at 8,800 mega transfer. Okay, with no strain on the PC. Divide that by 2, that's 4,200 mega transfer. You're 200 mega transfer faster than Gear 1. That makes sense. But you've also got the bandwidth to go with it. Now remember what I was saying to you before. If you've got more bandwidth, you've got redundancy, you can run more programs. Alright? Because that is what it's tuned for at the end of the day. Alright. Now you've got Gear 4. Okay, running at Gen 5. Alright? Now I'm going to use what I've got here at the moment, okay, because Gear 5 is supposed to be 16,000 mega transfer, okay, but it's not doing that because the technology is not balanced properly, but that is what they're supposed to be aiming at. But we're going to keep it to what my PC is. My PC is running at 9,000 mega transfer, 9,200 mega transfer in Gear 4. You divide that by 4. You get 2,250 mega transfer. That's slower than Gear 1. Yeah, you heard right. So if it's slower than Gear 1 at that speed, don't use it. You see where I'm coming from? You're better off running it in the 4,000. It's true, but remember, at the end of the day, you can run a heck of a lot more programs. It's about redundancy. Can Star Citizens run? Well, look at that. That's running in Gear 4. Gen 5 speed. Remember, Gen 5 we're now talking at 4 times the speed and the bandwidth and the lanes to go with it. So as you can see, as long as it's not going below a certain amount, it's hard to explain. Okay, well, why not run it in gear 2? Yeah, okay, it can't go gear 2 because, like I says, it produces so much heat on the process and all the clocks and all that kind of thing at the end of the day. So you're running it at gear 8000. My PC will run at, in gear 2, will run at 8800 mega transfer. Divide that by 2, that's 4200 mega transfer, which is better than gear 1. Alright? As you, the numbers there prove, because half the speed. But the heat it produces, for most PCs, if you've got that memory, you can overclock it, that is stable, okay, which is being proven. So most of you will run that in gear 4 on Gen 5 RAM, okay, Gen 5 RAM, because remember, Gen 5 has got twice the bandwidth, but obviously it's geared down. But when it comes to latency, overheads, and redundancy, the gear 4 is better, because you're not running one program. You're running about 50, 60, 70 different programs. Star Citizens isn't one program. It's got 60, 70 different programs in that one program. Can you see where I'm coming from? So you've got the redundancy. Okay, let's talk about RAM. How much RAM do you need? You've got the speed. At the end of the day, you need the speed. You need as much RAM as you can get. But if it's going below a certain amount of RAM, you will get stutters, you will get itching. My PC cannot run in gear 4 Gen 5 at 8800 mega transfer in gear 2. I mean in gear 4. It will not run. It will itch. It will crash. It will bug out, because it cannot feed the RAM to run all those programs at the same time. It won't do it. It will run Star Citizens on its own and nothing else. You won't get no stuttering, and all of a sudden your house is like a frying pan, it's that hot. But because everything's running in gear 5, it's got redundancy and overheads, it's taking bits from here, so you can't see what I'm doing, and it's taking bits from there, and it's taking bits from there, and all sorts. So it's running like that. But my RAM at the moment is running at the equivalent of 2250 mega transfer. That is slower than your Gen 4 at 4000 speeds, but it's not running one program. And this is what people don't understand, because they don't understand tech. And me, at the end of the day, I'm just one person telling everybody they're wrong. Who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the majority, okay? Which is true, because if I can't be the only one right and everybody's wrong, because that's not the way it works. It is true. It's not the way it works. But if you don't understand old tech, the principle is still the same, and that is how it works at the end of the day. All right. But people like me and you, we're not a company. We're individual, and you don't want to spend £2,000 on a VR headset and it don't work, which is true. But the content creators, at the end of the day, they're on commission. They will tell you, get this, and when they've got this, guess what? They're running out to buy a 5090. Why? Because their Pimax will not run on their old graphics card. Well, careful now. I'm not slagging Pimax off. I'm just telling you certain facts, which is true. I don't care what they say, because I've done the research. It's way on. I wanted Pimax. Don't tell me that Pimax. You couldn't say shit about Pimax. You couldn't say shit about Tobii eye tracking, because I will slag you down. Where am I coming from? What I'm saying to you, technology has moved on from when they said all this, because they got the tech, they didn't do the researches, and it didn't work. That's why it was so slow. I did my tech my researches before I got the stuff. Alright? And that's why I know it doesn't work. And I've listened to these people. They've all gone into Pimax, they've gone into Toby. Well, his stuttering's doing all of this bullshit. Well, somebody says, oh, get the 5090. So everybody rushes out and gets the 5090. Oh, it's running a little bit better. Oh, then someone says, you need more RAM. Which is true. You want to run your PC in 8K. Well, you're not going to run it on 16 gigabytes of RAM now, are you? Because you're running 14 gigs already, fully maxed out. You can see where you're coming from. You need 48 gigabytes of RAM. I've only got 48 gigabytes of RAM in here. So where's my RAM coming from? My RAM is coming from I got 32 gigabytes of RAM for my 5090. I've got 48 gigabytes of system RAM running at 9,000, 2,000 megahertz. I've got my SSD with my paging file run at can you see where I'm coming from? It's pinching RAM from all over the place. So I'm not using AMD where I've got to use 50 graphic cards. I've just got one graphics card in my PC. And it's pinching things from all over the place. This is the difference between AMD and Intel. And guess what? I got Thunderbolt 5. As you can see, this is called new technology. But because the new people come in doesn't understand the technology, they're copying what everybody else has said. But it's only when you've got it and you run it, you understand it. And this is what I mean. You don't put old tech with new tech. The Pimax is old tech. Alright? But what you understand is direct. Yes. But Star Citizens is not a sit-down cockpit game like FS2000. It is not Half-Life Alyx, which you need to run about. And this is where the Pico Swan comes in at the end of the year. It does it all. But can the Samsung Galaxy XR do it? I'm doing them tests now and I've not got this, what they call it, because if I'm not going to go and spend £2,000 on a VR headset and it don't work, because it's going to take me 6 months to find out all of this. So when I do get it, I will know if it works, and everything for what I want it for, it will work. The Pimax cannot cut it because it's not built for Star Citizen. Yes, it's got Toby eye track. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, because I was pushing Toby. I was pushing Pimax. But what I'm saying, it's old tech for my PC and for me wanting to run Star Citizens. It will run Half-Life Alyx, it will run this, it will run, yes it will. But guess what? Look at my frames per second. I'm running at the moment capped at 350 frames. It can go to 1000. Okay, I'm not going to go back through all of that at the end of the day. It's as smooth as a baby's backside. But I'm only using 80% of my graphics card. I'm only using 30 gigabytes of RAM. I'm only using 40% of my CPU. I'm only using 1% of my SSD. Because I understand how tech is. When the first thing you're going to tell me is, well, I can't afford £6,000 for a PC. That is true. I get it. But remember, when I built this PC, I built it for a specific purpose. And that's why I needed that, what they call it. Okay? But a year ago, you could have built the same PC for £1,000 until RAM went stupid. Alright? This PC's only got 48 gigabytes of RAM. I need 240 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes of RAM to run it, but the RAM was not out. The RAM will be out next year, okay? And it's going to cost me nearly £4,000. Because remember, when I built the PC, that is why I built it. But if the RAM didn't go to the price it would, it'd have only cost me £1,000. I could have bought the RAM 256 gigabytes, okay, for £1,000 a year ago, but it was only running at 4,600 mega transfer. It wouldn't have worked in my PC. It would have worked for AI, it would have worked to play Star Citizens, but it wouldn't have done the both of them. It wouldn't have worked. You see where I'm coming from? And remember, this is the reason why have I got the money, can I afford it? Yes, I can. Because I planned for it before I built the PC. If I could not afford it, I would not have built it to do this. Because remember, I want AI. Why do I want AI? Because I'm dyslexic. I cannot read and I cannot write. But if you look in all my brochures and everything, it's like a godsend. But and guess what? It's not took me 2, 3, 4 hours to write it. I'm not asking my friends to write everything, you know what I mean, and causing them upset, because I can do it myself. And it's done the way I want it. And look at the graphic quality in 6K. Look at the frames per second. 400 at 120 frames low. Look at the bandwidth. You see where I'm coming from? You didn't tell me how to do this. I already knew. Okay? And the Samsung Pico, the Pico is coming out at the end of the year, and everybody's going to be rushing to buy it. Look at let's get back onto Star Citizens. I was pushing Pimax. No, I was pushing Tobii eye tracking way before it got what they call it. It got me into a lot of trouble, understandably, but I was pushing it. I still got Tobii eye tracking 4C, not the 5C, okay, but I had to write my own scripts, but I pushed hard. I was also researching the Pimax because of its wild field of view. But why didn't I get it in the early adopters? Because the eye tracking wasn't sufficient, okay, and it wouldn't work with my system, so there's no point in me buying it. But Pimax says buy it, and I says no, it won't work, okay, based on the facts I'd already learned. But if I bought it, I would have been stuck with the paperweight. It works now, but look how long Pimax took to get it to work. At the same time, I was pushing Sylvan to get acquainted with Pimax. Yeah, they're getting on fine now. I'm not bad mouthing, and yes, because they're working together, they can go further. But like I said, Star Citizens need the Tobii because it's in their own ecosystem, and Pimax is the only person that's doing it at the moment. Granted, all right. But like I said, I'm moving over to Samsung Galaxy XR because Star Citizens needs a heck of a lot more than the eye tracking at the end of the day. If I'm right in thinking, Sylvan was using the MetaQuest. He's now using Pimax. Yeah. But I was the one that told him about the Dreamer in the beginning and all this bullshit. Yeah, who the hell am I? I'm nobody. I get it. But at the end of the day, I stand by what I say. I'm nobody. But at the end of the day, I'm there to help everybody. But when people, this is not weapons, there's other people out there that want fame and glory. And when they want fame and glory, they'll jump over your head. But the good thing is, Sylvan now is working with Pimax. Sylvan now is working with Tobii. Sylvan now is pushing VR. We all want VR at the end of the day, and everybody's jumping in the bandwagon. But I'm still on my own talking bullshit. But I'm not pushing it through Sylvan. I'm not pushing it through Pimax. I'm not pushing it through Tobii. I'm pushing it through other people because I'm a content creating streamer, and somebody who understands tech will see this, who you can see that's got 50,000 blah 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 at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's 50,000 people, so you're going to watch them because they've got 16k people subscribers. Pimax will use them people because they got 15,000 subscribers, 2k subscribers, but at the end of the day, are they watching it? No, they are not. Now let's look at Sanchez. Okay, who was he on? He was on the Meta Quest. I was on it too, but I've not got VR. You see where I'm coming from? But because I wasn't streaming it, everybody was watching him. Yeah, great. But when you look at my streams, and I'm going to use Sanchez. I'm not bad-mouthing him, okay? Because remember, he's pushing Pimax. Remember, he's got all the people in his channel at the end of the day chatting all the latest tech, and that is what it's all about. Remember, 1,000 heads is better than one head, okay? But it takes one person to spread the gossip, okay? But if you look at my streams, alright, and you look at Sanchez, you'll see in the same time he does his streams, he's only had about 10 or 20 views, okay, and he's got 50,000 subscribers. I've only got 180 subscribers, but when you look, I've had 200-300 views. Why? Because the information is valuable to people that need that tech, and the people that need that tech is the tech wizards, because they're the one that is pushing the technology forward. And I've not got all these people. At the end of the day, I'm pushing Star Citizen. It's only a small community. You heard right, it's only a small community. I'm pushing Intel. It's only a small community. I'm pushing 300 frames per second. It's only a small community. I'm pushing the 5090. It's only a small community. I'm pushing 9,200 mega transfer. It's only a small community. I'm pushing this. I'm pushing that. It's only a small community. But when you put it all together, okay, as you can see, at the end of the day, it's one big community, because that part that person needs, blah blah blah. And at the moment, I have been pushing the Samsung Galaxy XR, and believe it, at the end of the day, I'm not pushing it through Star Citizens. I'm not just pushing it through Sebastian. You see where I'm coming from? I'm not just pushing it through PCVR. You see where I'm coming from? There's a lot more people I'm pushing it, but what I'm doing, I'm giving the background behind it and the logic behind it. I'm giving the difference between HDR, SDR, OLED, the logic behind it, the field of view, the shimmering, and as you can see, okay, who the fuck am I? I'm nobody. He's right. I'm not making no money out of it, because remember, I'm not going to spend £2,000 on a paperweight, because it's my money at the end of the day. I'm not going to go through Tech Lino Tech, because remember, I've been doing it years. But explaining it, it's all garble. But remember, at the end of the day, I've been through all of them at the end of the day. And one thing is, if you say something and it's not in their econ, they're losing money, they're like a devil. Okay? And that's what it's all about, because remember, they're on commission and they need to make money. At the end of the day, they need to pay their staff. It's true. But at the end of the day, you want the facts. Okay? I'm not saying to you go out there and buy the Samsung Galaxy XR if you're running a old PC. It will not work. I'm not saying go out there and buy the Pimax Crystal of the latest, and which Pimax is trying to say you can run it on a 20,000 PC. I mean 2090 Ti. That is an old graphics card. Okay, that's old tech, because at the end of the day you cannot buy them today. So why are they doing that? Because they're trying to say to you, buy the Samsung Galaxy X. Sorry, not. They're saying to you, buy the Pimax Crystal. You can run it on yours 20 Ti. I can run it on my 1080 Ti. Okay? But I have to use lossless scaling. You see where I'm coming from? And I got to use this. I got to use all of them things. But you're not a tech wizard. You don't understand this. You want things that work out of the box. I get it. I didn't come in here today to do tech talk. I came there to do stress testing on my PC today. It's going to take me 4 hours to buy all my shit. I've not even gone in the game to know where to go my thing, but I know to equip my my Polaris, it's going to take 4 hours. I already know that. And by the time the 4 hours is up, I'm going to be tired. And it's time for my bed. So why am I doing it? Because when it goes live, I know exactly what I need. See where I'm coming from? You research, you do your testing beforehand. Yesterday I was with my friends, but because they wanted this working and they wanted that working, I understood them. But they didn't understand what I was doing. Everybody is, we get back into Star Citizens now. Everybody is saying the time to kill at the end of the day, and what weapons will shoot down what weapons, but nobody was not using lasers, taking down shields, or using radars or anything like that. You see where I'm coming from? I equipped my ship to do all of that. And at the end of the day, remember, these are all group play, but I have to do it all single-handedly. I don't know what this patch says at this moment, but I know if I want to continue, how much it's going to cost me to equip my Polaris. I'm looking over 2 million credits to buy the equipment, and that's just for guns alone. And I'm not talking about ships to put inside it, because am I going to be running the Polaris or will I be running the Icarus? I said I want to run the Polaris in the next patch. Okay, why? Because I've got the Icarus, but I've not got the size 10 railgun. But it will store all the stuff that I want on there. And guess what? The shields are bloody strong. You see where I'm coming from? The hull is bloody strong. But CIG has retuned the shields. I've got to retune my shields. I've not got the time to do all that, because I'm doing tech talk at the end of the day to help you guys. And it's only a small community in this, it's only a small community in that, and at the end of the day, it's not going to benefit me at the end of the day. So why am I streaming? Because I like to stream. I like to look back on my own work to improve. But anybody who's there, it will interest them. But I'm going to go into my ship there now and see what I've got. Okay? I say I will need at least 3 million just to equip the Polaris. Well, if I need 3 million to equip the Polaris, how much do I need to equip the Icarus? Oh my word! As you can see, but I've got petty cash. But I can't go out in the live and take a chance and buy this, and then my friends come on there, well, I'm not going to be doing this and I'm not going to be doing that and blah blah. But remember, they're my friends at the end of the day. I don't expect them to understand. But one thing I will tell you, it was great having my friends yesterday. Me being a bridge commander, I love being the bridge commander. It was brilliant sitting back there giving me orders. But remember, it comes down to management. And it's my friends to understand. They wanted to do their own thing, blah blah. Look at me, she's a mutant. You don't know that, of the. And I'm not going to go into her role play at the end of the day, because, like I said, when she's ready, I will go into her mutant, because she's half Banu and she's half human. But I'm not going to go. Yoza, at the end of the day, he's got a unique role play at the end of the day, but he was there put in the cockpit seat at the end of the day because I wanted to play bridge commander. It was brilliant, but at the end of the day, I've not got the crew to do that, so I have to play the PC as a one-man wrecking crew, because my friends, they're used to one way of playing, so why should they adapt to play the way I want? But what I saw was I made a couple of mistakes. It took me 4 hours to equip that ship. And if the ship crashed into an asteroid, it's going to take me 4 hours to equip that ship again. I'm going to be pretty pissed. You see where I'm coming from? And it's only my friends trying to help me. We'll get more followers into the act. He's a content creator and streamer, as you already well know. He spent hours doing his content creating and somebody blew him up. He flipped. He didn't do it on purpose, he flipped. And because of that, you guys didn't understand and you abolished him, not knowing the amount of work he put in the passionate. I learned from that. Okay? So now I brought string sniping into my game. Okay? And everything. If you string snipe me, I don't give a shit. Because you won't know where I am to string snipe me. Because I won't be running around in the stupid Aurora. I'll be running around in a capital ship. And you guys will turn around, you'll come up in the blue ship and show blue and you start shooting the hell out of me. But I will know who is string sniping me and I will cause so much latency in the background and desync, you're dead before you know it. And guess what? I will turn your ship red. And if it means me getting a crime stat, but remember I'm a fugitive, I'm not a bad person. Because a fugitive, when you hear a fugitive, it's a bounty on your head. We're all going to shoot down Pepper. But I'm not a bad person. I was casted out. But if you've been watching my streaming from day one, my friends said, well, they don't want to be a fugitive, they think I'm bad. But you watch my streams, I'm not doing nothing bad. I don't manipulate, I play the game. And it's not easy. Because I like doing what I do. Anyway, I'm rambling. I need to see what my PC. I've been talking for nearly an hour at the moment. And everything seems to be stable. Oh, I'm sorry about the echo. Like I said, I've been talking for that much. I forgot to tune the game for internal. So I'm going to do that now. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. But I got my game coming from my headphones. I got to now check. One, two, 1, 2. I've now got all those working. Check my latencies. I am running at 60% on my graphics card at 340 frames, CPU 30 frames, memory 21, SSD running at 1%, and my upstreaming on the Ethernet read is 40 gigabits, which is right. That's streaming, okay? That's not reading, that's streaming, that's upload, because I'm streaming in HDR. But I'm only using one graphics card at the moment. I'm now going to sort all these out.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
Oh gosh, that's my daughter. 1 second, please. Hello. So you want? So I've got to cook breakfast. I'm gonna poison a lot of yous. What time are you coming down for?
I'm coming.
Be down in about an hour. Okay.
Yeah, is Jackie awake?
No. Why did you want her? She'll be
Why
up by the
is
time you come
Jackie?
down.
No, I'm just put basic. She's just done a poo in the car and I've not brought any napkins with.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It will be sorted, okay? You just drive safely now,
If it
alright?
can be sorted for when I come back, because I don't want to get.
Mika, just worry about yourself. Get down there when you can. I'll get things sorted, okay? Yeah, I suppose you want. I suppose you want. You want. You want breakfast, yeah?
Yeah, me and Carlia want breakfast. She can't have Weetabix because she's wearing an iPhone.
Don't worry about it. Just let me get myself sorted now, okay? Alright? See you in a bit.
Okay, I'll send you a text message with the size of napkins that you need, okay?
Yeah, alright, no problem.
Alright, bye.
I don't think I'm going to be able to play the game. Basically, my granddaughter's coming down. Let's get certain things up. Okay, I want to use that ship. If that's the basic version. Right, now we'll go. Okay, oh! 1, 2. Is that a rattler? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It let me keep me rattlers. It let me keep me guns. There's 3 pages. That is excellent. All the stuff that I bought yesterday, they have not cleaned it. But the sad thing is, I'm not going to have time to play until this afternoon. So what I'm just going to do is take the time now to see what we've got. I'm really chuffed about the guns because I've not had time to test. You see, the problem is them missiles will go at the back of the sides of the Polaris, the Rattlers, okay? Because I need to know and how to get them working. This gun is very important because it's size 4, but the thing is they're cannons and they're very slow, okay, but they go through shields. If they are powerful enough, they should be able to take out a hammerhead's torrent, okay, and the Polaris takes 4 to a torrent, so that means one shot of an accurate shot should take down a torrent on a hammerhead. Alright? Now remember, these don't go through shields. That's the problem. But that, remember, CIG wants them to mix and match. Okay? Now the sucker punches, because I'm not a common murderer, which I'm not, the only thing that can take down the shields is the sucker punches. No, sorry, it's the cannons. But if you keep shooting, because it's 4 on a there's 4 of these on a Polaris, they can wipe out a ship in a couple of shots. Okay, and that is not needed only on capital ships. But these sucker punches at the end of the day should be able to take down a system within like nobody's business, them sucker punches. But because I'm one person, these have to work with these at the end of the day. If you've got them on separate torrents, you're playing musical chairs, okay, and is what they call. This is what I wanted to do yesterday at the end of the day, but like I says, it involved micromanagement. The badge repeaters are dead. Okay, they will take down the shields, all right, but they don't do anything more. They take down shields, but remember, at the end of the day, my ship is a capital ship. It's got it's got point of defense on there, so it does most of its work for you. If you noticed yesterday, I actually switched off the arm point of defense because I was also in training, because the commiss needed to learn how to understand the guns at the end, because nobody is mix and matching guns. They're all copying everybody. And I'm not going to be getting into that at the end, because I've been doing all these and I've got my shields there to be fine tuning. All these I need to be learning. Please join up. Yeah, I've got one of those left. I need to understand this a bit more. So there's so much to learn in the new patch, and you can't do everything. So pick what you can do, and I'm doing perma death. I've got to start. No, I've got a medical. Don't need that. I've got to start learning how to use those. But if I'm using that, I should really need that. So much to learn. Oh gosh.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Your vehicle has
Oh, I didn't want to do that.
Please visit us again. Goodbye.
Oh gosh.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Your vehicle has been moved to our storage facility.
Right, if I remember correctly, yesterday, let's do the no, I don't want to do those just yet. Yes, I do, but not just yet. Remote torrent, yes, I want to do those. Those will have the sucker punches. No, sorry, not the sucker punches. Right, that's done. Now this is where I went wrong yesterday. I've got 2 size 3 guns now to do. Oh, these ones, I know I don't need 8, but I've not got refuel, rearm and repairing there. I want these for the long distances. 1, 2. Okay, that didn't take long. Now yesterday, and all the size 3s now need to be done. Top right, top left. Top right. Top right, top right. Alright, say if it's the top, we will put those on the that and that and that that. So the same things on the other side. So on the other side, it's the cannons on the top. Right, all them guns aside, we can't do nothing. Oh, wait a minute. You see? I don't have any problems with their civilian. Now, what was the difference between the civilian and the military? The hit points. Remember, it was the hit points. No, the hit points is no. Yeah, the hit points. The military's higher hit points. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I'm not doing nothing with those missiles just yet, and these missiles I need to work on. What are these missiles anyway? Cross sections. Do they work? I like cross sections. I want to test the rattlers out.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
Oh, wait a minute. Just let's have a look at the Guardian. I can't use the Guardian. I'd love to use the Guardian, but I can't use it, but I'm going to load it up anyway.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location. Your replace visitors again.
Now, the reason why I don't want the Guardian on this ship, remember, I'm not all about bounty hunting. I'm more into salvaging, okay? Research, experiment and everything. So the Mirai for my next role on this particular ship is no good. So don't think because I picked this ship it's what I'm going to use. I just want to see what the sizes are. But if I could get the other ship on here, the Inferno, you're looking at something totally different. And if I had a choice to pick this, I would have the missile version, because I'm into stealth. Where's the guns on the... It's got two... Oh, okay. You see, I wanted to test this ship actually, but there's two types. There's the ones with the size 4s, okay, and the ones with the size 5s. How do you get on this ship? And you know something? When you think about it, if I had this ship,
How can this help you today?
I will put them size 5 distortion cannons on this actually, you know.
Engines on.
How big is this ship? You see, because I'm used to 8K, I can actually see the difference. Oh, this is going to be interesting. But it's not the wheels.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location. Please visit us again. Goodbye.
They could have the sci-fi distortion cannons. I'd equip this with rattlers, but you see, I've not even done no research on this at all. I wanted to do research on the Mirai Guardian, but remember, at the end of the day, I'm not combat. And the ship that I've got should be adequate for combat. This should have more firepower than the F8 Lightning. I gotta go back with the guns again, but it hasn't got the versatility. Now one thing, remember, all these guys are doing their test at the end of the day where they're taking the ships out. Why can't they do it in the hangar deck?
How can Miss help you?
Okay. I should be able to see all the guns from here. I haven't got much time. High shields actually, no, but you think about it. I've left the engines on because first things first, sucker punches. Because each weapon has a different source. Now, for one man, wrecking crew, I know on the Polaris it takes 16 seconds to take down the shields on the standard format. Was it 16 or was it 12? I can't remember. I don't think I've got time to do all these tests. This is what I wanted to do yesterday with my friends, you see. But Little missed the most of all because she's always wanted to be a gunner and she can't see past her nose. Basically, she's looking forward and she's firing behind her. She's got no sense of direction. So her tests I got to go back and repeat, and I don't really have that much time. I got to retune her PC. I've got to sort out lossless scaling. There's a heck of a lot I've got to do. Engines on.
Welcome to Roberts Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
Okay. We don't need the engines, so we've got extra facilities right there.
Engines are off.
We'll need the guns on full. We don't need that. We don't need the radar as such, and we don't need that. So there should be enough pips.
Shields are on.
Now, I know on the small ships I should not have any problems. There's 2 guns on this ship. And remember, these cannons are very slow velocity, so for fast moving ships you don't use them.
System check.
But small ships, at the end of the day, the point of defense is adequate, but you don't want to kill the bloody ship. And the small ships guns really, no bigger than size 2s, can't do nothing to the ships, which is good. I don't think I'm going to be able to do more than one test on this. Right, the guns are on the wrong side. Now remember, I'm not combat, I'm about defense and strategy. That is a totally different, because I'm not a murderer, I'm out there to make money. I'm also an explorer, a bridge commander. But at the end of the day, I have no choice when it comes to defense. I should be able to defend myself. And that's what the game has forced me to do, is to have weapons under normal circumstances. Because when you're by yourself, and the type of roleplay that I play is not that easy.
Welcome to Roberts Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
haven't got much time. These need proper testing. And the first problem is the guns can't go all the way down. Damn. Gimbaled. Right, so I can't do the test on that. It's not about shooting the ship. It will shoot the ship. Oh, okay. I might be able to. Gee. I'm gonna have to put my helmet on. Gee. No point playing new box shots. So let's do time to kill. I don't know if I've got enough time. Let's hope I got the weapons right this time. Yes, I have. We won't be doing sustained fire. And if I'm right, sucker punches should be the second guns. Wrong. Now the test that I tried to do yesterday, remember everybody is trying to shut down, kill the ship without working out how it shields. That's important. I'm using sucker punches. Okay, now if I was using 4 sucker punches, them shields will go down. Sorry, them shields are not going down. Alright, they're not. So why have sucker punches? Remember, I'm not a bounty, I'm into salvaging. I don't want to kill the ship, because now we've got salvaging in the game. We've got that new thing, I can't remember its name in the game. Those are not coming down. Okay, so at the end of the day, it's having the right weapon. Remember, the Polaris is the best for this. Okay, as long as you got the right guns. I am not using repeaters. Alright, and remember the cannons are a slow descent of fire. This is what I wanted to do yesterday. Okay, now I'm going to be using the cannons. Oh, hello,
Hello, Casey Drive.
1 minute, I'm coming. Just put my pants on. Oh gosh, I don't wear clothes in my house in the winter, you see. No, it's not that. It's my house is so hot because the 5090s do what they do. Just give me a minute, you guys. Just give me a minute. I'm not going to go and leave this round, okay? I'm going to finish this. Okay, you guys, you're going to have to bear with me. I've got my granddaughter here, alright? And she takes priority over me Star Citizens. But no, she doesn't take priority over me Star Citizens, because she will be playing... Come. She will be playing Star Citizens. Alright? In the next couple of years. And don't you dare touch us, I'll pop off your fingers. Oh, you can't hear, can you? As I was saying, right, if you touch them, I'll tear your fingers apart. I guess she's only 1.5 and she understands my English. He said, "Granddad, silly granddad." You see, as you can see, the sucker punches does nothing to the ship. Alright? Look how many shots I've got. I've got quite a lot actually. Impressive. Now why is that? That is a lot. One second. Second. No, don't go get him now. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go get him now. Huh? I've got to go buy some nappies. Now, remember, look how quick those sucker punches are. Now, really, those should be, oh, it should be on one. But I've got to go get nappies, okay? But if you look, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to take down the shield. I've got enough time. The shields are now down. You can see the shields, you can see the ship dying now. Huh? You got some? You want mummy? Alright, go on to mummy then, go on to mummy. Say, get you some what? Hold a minute.
I'm only able to put one of the...
Yeah, just give me a minute, I can't move too fast, 1 minute. Where's the ship? That ship is dead. Sorry, I've lost what they call it, but as you can see, it's a combination of weapons. Okay? Now, I've been using these combinations from God knows when, but because CIG keeps changing things, it makes it redundant. Cannons are better than laser. Okay? But the difference, reason being, because they are more powerful, but they are slow. I mean, they are slow at the end of the day. So for fast moving targets, they're no good. So you need them on big moving targets. But because we're using the Polaris, it's got point of defenses that shoots down small ships, and then if you can control them. Now, as you can see, that ship is dead. Okay, I'm not going to blow it up at the end of the day. As you know it's dead. Okay. I can't remember if it's dead actually. I should have put my helmet on, gimbal. But it didn't take long. That's not a small ship. Okay? But remember, the Polaris is a capital ship. And as you can see, those were size 3 guns. The question is, what would it be like against another big ship at the end of the day? It's called mixing and matching the guns. I wanted to do this yesterday because everybody isn't doing it as it's intended. They're copying everybody. How long does it take to do that? They're not taking down the shields, because remember, if the guns can't take down the shields, okay, you got to use different guns like the the ballistics to go through the guns. But remember, with the cannons, the sucker punches, you take down the shields, then you use the sucker punches to shut down the system. I can't stay long because my daughter, she's about 9 months pregnant. No, she's not. I like to exaggerate, you know what I mean? She's come because she wants me to feed her, okay? She doesn't want her mum to feed her, she wants me to feed her. Because I remember when she was only a baby, she was only about 4. Dad, I want McDonald's! And when she came, Dad, this ain't McDonald's. Yes, I said, yes or no? You know, the first thing she did, I said, this is better than McDonald's. And now she's a big woman with 3 kids of her own. You know what I mean? She will drive 50 miles, drive past every McDonald's, so I can give her a Big Mac. Yeah, I make my own burgers and everything. Yeah, you got that right. I used to be you see, I've done a heck of a lot of things. I'm not just a halfwit. I like to be an imbecile because I like being an idiot. Because at the end of the day, that's the way some people find me very irritating, but no, it's not. It's my sense of humour. I don't mean no harm at the end of the day, but that's the role I like to play. I really can't stay long because, like I said, I'm not seeing me. Anyway, the other grandson, the little bugger. Hey, guess what? I've nicknamed all my grandchildren. I say to the... Oh gosh. I say to my granddaughter, she's a neglected granddaughter, and the oldest grandson, I call him Badbrook, and the third one that's coming on the way, I call him, gosh, the neglected grandchild. Okay, so I say to the granddaughter, where's the Badbrook? And anyway, don't worry about it. It's just me being silly. But if you saw me, you wouldn't come out of your house. You'd be shit scared. Because I'm just taking the piss. You see, the ship is shut down.
Engines on. Shields on.
I didn't kill the ship, you know, I shot it down. If I wanted to kill it, I would have did other things, but alright, I tell you what, I'm going to dismantle the ship completely. Hello, little neglected granddaughter. You better not be writing on my walls. You better not be writing on my walls. Don't look at me, say silly granddad. I can see you behind there peeking at me. Don't shut. Oh, 1 minute. Don't trap your fingers. see, to do these tests, it's not a 5-minute job. As you can see, the ship is not dead. Okay, I didn't kill the ship. To kill the ship, I've got to get to the power plant. I'm sorry, you guys, I really am a bit under pressure because my daughter, she's just driven 50 odd miles from McDonald's. Okay, and she's going to be giving me grief in the next 5 minutes, because also I've got to make sure the daughter has something to eat there too. It's a little bit difficult, just bear with me. Okay, just another 10 minutes back in what they call it. Alright, I will take down the shields. Remember, this is not a small ship, but with the right tools it can do certain things. Do I need 3 sucker punches? Do I need... It can take ballistics. So if I want to take down certain components like the guns, I could put 2 ballistics on here, 1 sucker punch and 1 cannon. You see, and that's what you call mix and match. But remember, because I'm good at this doesn't mean the next player you are using is good at it also, because everybody has to be tuned to their specific weapons and the fire rate and its capabilities. That is the beauty of it at the end of the day. But me, because I'm the only one in the ship, I have to know a bit about everything. I cannot learn 100% of everything, because oh my god, there's engineering, there's fire brigade, there's flying the ship, there's navigation control. Do you see where I'm coming from? But the point is, I've got the basics of everything. Okay, there's no point, as you know, I can fire those, it's going to do nothing, the ship's not coming down. I'm not going to destroy the ship, okay, with the guns. I'm just going to take down the shields. From when I take down the shields, if I go there, they'll recharge back, they will. That's guaranteed fact. After so many seconds delay. But now, if you watch, on the electrical, the system's now shutting down. But the system will not shut down because I'm not aiming directly at the components. Okay? So about noise in the background, you have to bear with me on that. Now remember, yesterday I had 40 components. Now that is now shut down. Okay? But remember, I'm not reaching the components on the ship. Alright? And the reason being, that's another thing. The sucker punches, they do splash. But this ship's not a small ship, it's a big ship. So the splash area isn't as much. I'll do breakfast in a second. The splash area is not as much. It's good, but it's not as much. And that's why you've got other weapons, but they're not in the game. You've got to go about it in a different way. To shut down the systems properly, you have to go for the direct components. And this is tested. I don't know if it's changed, but like I says, you have to go for the direct components. They can be repaired, okay, but that ship is dead in the water as it is. If there was somebody on the ship, they would repair the system. But that ship is totally dead. I can fry each system in here. But remember, I'm not about to kill the ship. The ship is dead. The ship can't fire any guns, it can't fire anything. As long as I keep the sucker punches trained on that ship, they will never get those components back online. So then the ship can now be infiltrated. Remember, it's easy to blow the ship up at the day, but that is not what the game is about. When the game first started, okay, there was nothing in the game. So because there's nothing in the game, all people did was blow up the ships. Now, there is something in the game. It costs you money to blow your ships up, so you've got to get something back in return. Okay? Rearm, refuel and repair is going to be back in the game, but it's not in there properly. We've got all the salvage tools to repair the ship if the components are different, but remember, I've not fired any ballistics, so this ship has got no hull damage or anything like that. The guns are not damaged, it will all come back on, but I cannot do the test properly because, like I said, it's so many different variants to go. It's not a 5-minute job, and if to get your friends to do all of this, when you think you're doing the test the way it's supposed to, your friends are doing the test on your test, and if they're doing their own test on top of your test, that test is failed. End of story, because the numbers don't match. Okay, look.
Weapon system off. Weapon systems on. Shield on.
See, it's a bit difficult because I just haven't got the time. So what would be the next move that I need to do? I need to shut down. I need to shoot the guns. Okay. Let's look at that. Can I shoot the guns down with this ship? Yes, I can. I can. Oh, I need my helmet. You can do all these tests in your ship, but doing these tests, right, even though in my hangar, I can't get a crime stat, okay, but there's so many different variants to go about it. It's easier to do it in the PTU. You can do it in the PU, but I'm doing permanent death, okay? And I don't just do one test, I do what they call it, but I have to understand each test that I'm doing when I'm doing it. I am trying to stay as long as I can, but I really can't stay too long. Because my daughter's really bucking on the, what they call it, look, oh shit, I might took the girls' chairs out. I'm gonna, oh, this is difficult. Okay, thank you. Well, what I'm going to do, since I can't use the guns on the top, which I really wanted, I will take down the shields, then I'll shut down the system, and then I will take it. Oh, we tried that. It wouldn't register the guns. So, but as you can see, at the end of the day, you don't need two people to do these things. You just got to understand the equipment you've got. So when you see me spending 18 hours and 15 hours in the game, there's a lot I'm doing. Not because I'm streaming, it's usually done off stream, but now I'm doing everything on stream because everything I use as a reference. So I can only spend 5 more minutes on this, okay? I'm going to use the cannons to shoot down the guns. Ah. No. Okay. Now remember, listen carefully now, there's the power plants. I can't get to the back power plant, obviously, okay? But now things are showing. No. But I have to shoot down the shields first. Three shots.
No!
3 shots.
Stop it now. No, no, no. No, no, no. Yeah. Get off.
Can't get through the shields. This will blow the whole shit, because remember, I want direct contact. The power plant is now going down. It can't shoot because I used the cannons to shoot the guns off. But if I shot the power plant first, then I could have shot the guns if I wanted to afterwards. Ship is almost dead. It's not aiming. The only way I could get to that power plant right now is if I was to turn the ship around. power plant is still alive. I'm making sure the guns are down. I can't get to the power plant on that. As you can see, the power plant is at the back of the ship. That ship is now dead. That's soft death. Can it be repaired? Yes, it can. But remember, you have to do all these tests to know exactly what you're doing, because when you go into live, is it worth it to you or worth it to you not? But I'll be going in the next 5 minutes. I cannot do any more after this because, like I says, I've got intruders in my house. And actually, they're not giving me grief today, but I know they're hungry because the good girl has to have a breakfast. I don't think the power plant on this is destroyed, you know. Okay. And then there's the repairing of the ship. All these things is all a knock-on effect. What can you do? You know what I mean? There's so much.
Weapon system off. Weapon systems on. Engines on. Shield on.
As you can see, I'm repairing the ships, but can it be repaired? Because if you notice, one of the tentacles has been dismantled. I'm just waiting for the timers to run out. As you can see, and at the end of the day, I know why CIG's done this, but really, you should actually get out of the ship to repair these parts. But people complaining on the single fighters, you can't do this. But in real life, you would have no choice. But I'm not saying anything at the end of the day. This ship should be getting out to do these repairs. Alright? I can fire weapons, can I? No, not yet. All these are tests at the end of the day. This ship needs to be dismantled. The only thing that can keep the ship dismantled is the sucker punches. But remember, depending on the mission that you are doing, is the only time you can understand. Remember, I'm not about killing everything because the game is more advanced than that. So you've got to know a bit about everything. And when people come in and say, I can't play this because I need a master's degree. You can. It's just because you are lazy. What do you mean by that? Well, you learn to walk, didn't you? You learn to crawl, didn't you? You learn to... I was going to say something, but at the end of the day, my daughter will choke my head. Dad! Well, no, what I'm trying to say, you learn all these because you had to with survival. In the game, you don't have to learn. So you're not going to learn. So you want people to do it for you. Rule of failure.
Weapon system off. Weapon systems on.
Now I know the reasons why you should. You see, the point is, they can do certain repairs on the ship by rerouting. That's why they have rerouting to go to different components. But you've just repaired a full ship on the ship without leaving ship. What do you call it? If that component's damaged, the repairs should be replaced. Okay, you can't do it from the cockpit. I strongly disagree. But at the end of the day, because people don't understand engineering or understand the basics, they want things done for them, and that is not the way the game is supposed to be. That's not simulation. The ship can fly. Look, I'm sorry, no, this is ridiculous.
Landing successful.
The components were burnt out. You should be getting out there, rewiring the circuitry, rerouting. You know what I mean? That is what engineering. If you got extra parts on there, you replace them parts or reroute. You're not supposed to be able to repair a ship sat down in the cockpit. If I got my car there now, right? If my car needs oil in there, I'm gonna have to get out my seat and put oil in the engine. In here, you can put oil in the engine. Where's it all come from? It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I've got to go now because, like I said, this is engineering, okay, for the idiots that ain't got no sense. It's false imitation. I'm sorry. Yes, I am an engineer too. I know all this bullshit. And this is the first time I've actually done this in the game. But I will use it to my utmost because I'll use it to my advantage. If I can do that in this ship, I can definitely do it in the Polaris. So that means I don't need a bloody crew. If you see where I'm coming from. Sorry, I can't stop now. I've got to feed my daughters. I've got to feed them column pheasants. But I do understand why they've done it. Okay, I do.